Let's see what's going on. Oh my God. Okay, the squashes are growing, folks. The squashes are growing. What is this? Hi folks, and welcome back to the plot. Sunday afternoon, and one of those days where I just woke up and not really anything that I have to do. You know, just there's no better feeling, I don't think. I've kind of wandered down to the plot, and the main objective was, it's just so good. I have like 3 to-do lists, you know. I have like the long term, the big projects. 2 is like the sort of the pottering projects, when you sort of, things I could do if I had a bit of time or like a few spare days. That's things like sorting out the water butts, things that might take a little bit of time, might take a little bit longer than you expect. And then I've got like the urgent to-do list, you know, like things to sow, things to get out, things that have to be done yesterday. And that urgent to-do list is done. It's finished. I've got it all done, and there is no better feeling. So I've just wandered down. Main objective was just to check how everything's doing after the storm. It's not been too bad down here, but we have had very high winds. Unfortunately, I've had a little wander around and nothing major to report, which is always good. The thing, I used to be so anxious about these greenhouses, you know, well, especially this one. When I first put this one up, every time we had high winds, I'd be sat inside, worried, thinking about it, really quite anxious. But since I did that and it stood the test of time, that one I built so much more robustly. So I've not been worried about that one at all. And the shed too, still in danger of falling down any day, but not today, which is fantastic. So I've just had a little wander around. The only thing was a stray water butt lid, so that is very, very positive. But of course, as ever, when you arrive at an allotment without a to-do list, you quickly get a mental to-do list. So I was kind of planning on a bit of a tour today, but there's a few things to do first. Whether or not there's enough time for a tour afterwards, we'll see. But there are a few things that I want to update you on. The first, you may have noticed in yesterday's video, I just chucked some netting on here, really rough, because all of my salad seedlings were getting picked through by the birds. Sometimes they just lift up the whole cell, like this one. They seem to have enjoyed the middle one there, which is a bit of a shame. So I just thought, okay, I'll chuck some netting on. But we do have a small disaster, and that is my winter cabbages. I thought they were being damaged by flea beetles. I couldn't see any caterpillars, but looking at the damage on here, there are definitely caterpillars. And what it means is I don't want to now transfer them out into the main bed, because then you just put all the caterpillars into there. So that's not great. There are sort of some issues with this, mainly just lots of leaves pushing up against the edges, which mean caterpillars can come and lay their eggs. Not ideal. I've mentioned this a million times, but I really want a vertical kind of thing where you can put a nice buffer in and hopefully walk in as well. But I'll just have to be really vigilant on the butterflies. And well, I know it's likely that someone around here is going to have some spares for the savoys, so I might be able to get a cheeky little go on that. The aubergines are just being completely mullered by the netting, which is a bit of a shame. So this needs a little bit of work, but I did as well want to see how everything was progressing after yesterday's kind of spider mite catastrophe. And very sadly, and not particularly surprising, the melon is just like absolutely copping. It's just dramatically wilted, and whether or not this will bounce back, I don't know. I think this is kind of to be expected when you chop away 90% of a plant, even things that respond well to pruning. That was very severe. So that might be knackered, but we'll see. The good news is the cucumber is still alive, showing no adverse reaction to the spray or anything, so that's good. That means the spray hasn't killed it. I'm just having a little look around, seeing if I can see the microscopic blighters. Thank you for all the comments, lots of useful ideas. And to be honest, I was slightly concerned, because a lot of people did say, yeah, I've been dealing with spider mites for years. You're screwed, basically, JB. So good luck, but we'll see. That's what it's all about, isn't it? These challenges of gardening. One thing I forgot to add, Jessie from Plot 37 sent me a really helpful message about spider mites, said that she's had it for a really long time, but swears by misting the plants, keeping the humidity up when you're growing undercover. It really seems to help. So everything not looking too bad in here, but the other thing I did just see, the peppers, which looked fine yesterday, really need a drink. I often talk about getting a good read on your peppers, and they tell you very obviously when they need a drink, and there's sort of a few stages of wilting. And in fact, these ones are just doing it. They're just starting You can see they're just a little bit more droopy. They don't look as full of life. One back here, slightly more advanced, slightly more obvious that it's wilting. And then down here, this one is wilting a bit more than is ideal. You know, if you see this, it's not dramatic, but you don't really want to let your plant get to this bad. There's one just there too, which also really needed to drink. He was all fine yesterday, so they've just this morning kind of run out of water, or maybe last night. So give them a good drink now. And really you want to get into the practice of watering before this happens. But if you let them get to this kind of stage where they're just starting, then that is perfect. And what has happened, I've just taken the lid off the auto pots, and I've been very surprised to see they've drank it all. I didn't fill the whole thing up, but I did it about halfway. So we're going to get this filled up. I just wanted to kind of make sure it was all working, and it really is, I must say. The ones in these big pots have just exploded, so I'm going to give them all a drink. And to do that, I'm going to fill up the water butts. This is the sort of thing I normally do off camera, but we're a bit less pressed for time. So even with all the rain we've had, you can see I'm using it much faster than it collects. I've just got one of these on each side of the greenhouse. I'm quite lucky that we don't have any hose pipe leaves. I just have to very loosely wrap it around this pole and then take it down the end. Usually I can do this in one, but we'll see. Come on. Oh, it's tangled. We're quite lucky that we get water. And I'm relatively close to the tap. There are some plots that are really far away. And what I'm extra lucky about is I never paid for any of this hose pipe. It's all just been found in various plots that I've taken over. I have it set up as well, so there's a second hose for the second plot. And I've got one of these, so I can just connect in nice and quick if I need to. So this is filling up. It does take an awful long time because our water pressure is not great. But one thing to mention, I'm always a bit nervous about using tap water on my peppers because we're in a very hard water area. So the pH is a bit off. So I like to kind of mix a lot of rainwater in. So I know it's a bit extra, but what I'm going to do is kind of half fill that and also be putting in some of this rainwater. And the other thing I always like to do is, instead of using it neat on the plants because of the chlorine gas that you get in there, I like to off gas it for at least around half an hour before I actually water. So they're just going to be filling up, and then I'll do the watering in a bit. So I think we've got time for a little bit of a tour of the gardens. And I have to say that this is the best year for me, miles away. This is like the best year I've had on the allotments. There's been a few down times and a few times where it's been a bit overwhelming because I've taken on too much, but days like today, it's just so nice that the sun is finally out. We've had so many grey, dreary, stormy days this summer, and before that it was too hot. So I know it's been quite challenging. I watched one of Jane's videos. Do go over and make sure you subscribe to Jane, amazing channel. And she has been doing it for years and years, a proper experienced gardener who deserves more subs. So her link is in the description. And she was saying she's having a bit of a tough one. And I think one of the reasons for that might be the weather. We had just like far too hot to be out in the garden, and then like cold, dreary, miserable and wet. So I know that's been a bit difficult for me at times, and yeah, I really do sympathise with her, so do go over and show her some support. Hannah as well has just started a YouTube channel. You've probably already seen it, but if you haven't, there's a link to that one in the description as well. Our good friend Hannah from Potty Mouth Garden. I went to see her garden at Hampton Court Flower Show, and it was just brilliant allotment show garden. So nice. And she's finally started a YouTube after us, well, after me nagging her for years and years. Did a bee just fly into my ear? Something did. So yeah, do go and check that out. She's got a few videos and she's just doing it on her phone, and they're so good. It really does show you that all you need to start your own YouTube video is your phone and probably a nice microphone. But these beds, I am just so pleased. I'm so glad as well, because this is like my star section really, and it's right by the entrance. So it's the first thing I see. Looking really good with a nice mulch. I've had loads of beetroot out of here. The French beans have just been amazing. Although I did say in a video that they were nice raw, and apparently they can be quite toxic raw. So it depends on your beans, and it doesn't seem like there's much research, but this second lot now, just starting. There's someone there to harvest today, and they are so sweet. They're nice esteemed, that kind of retains their sweetness. Kalima bean. I've got all these ones down here that I'm doing for seed. So I'm keeping hold of those. The spring onions have been exceptionally slow this year. I put a lot of these in, I don't know, March, April, and I mean, look at them. I don't know. I'm not really worried though. There's one there that's ready for harvest, but the beetroot have been a crazy success this year. The sorrel has been amazing over there, having that in salads for a little appley bite. Oh, just delicious. And the lettuce, well, I've had too much lettuce. Basically, my issue this year is too much lettuce, and that, if you ask me, is probably the best problem to have. Some of these starting to look a bit like Tony C. Smith's food for the compost. I just planted a few too close together. Some of them that have bolted, you can see, just left a bit of a mess, but there is one here that I'm taking today. That is perfect, ready for harvesting. And I'm going to take some of this red lettuce as well, which I was expecting to be kind of gross and kind of bitter, but actually I think this is red salad bowl, and then this one I think is Lollo Rosso, and Lollo Rosso is the really bitter one. But it's kind of nice, it's so long as you have it in a mix. But this red salad bowl, oh, delicious, actually quite sweet. And this is the little leek bed. I've still got a lot of seedling leeks to kind of fit in somewhere. I might, well, actually, I've just sowed some, I had the carrot seeds out, you know, the Autumn King carrot seeds, and I was sowing those around. So I think what I might do is put the leeks in when I take those French beans out. And you can just see the calendula is, I mean, there's a lot of self-seeded, just all over the place, but the ones along the edge I did actually sow. They were from the greenhouse, so just picture perfect, loads of crops. I'm just so happy. And then this, the other bed that has been a star, we've got some of the African marigolds, once again some of the self-sown calendula. The feverfew is now over a little bit, but the verbena, oh, look at this, visited by a bee in front of our very eyes. Just absolutely love this. A really good broad bean harvest. Got some more broad beans there for cropping for seed, and the tomatoes just starting to come. These are a couple of spare Crimson Crush. They look a bit crap, to be honest, but they're better than nothing. They were probably going to go in the compost, so I really did just stick them in the ground. We've got one little one down here that was just puny, that's now got a tomato on it. I mean, it is it's a very small tomato plant, but over here there was a side shoot that kind of got away, and I just nipped out the growing bud, the growing tip, and it's loaded, absolutely loaded. So that's kind of free tomatoes, you know, free tomatoes. The carrots, are these ready for harvesting? They might be. This is my one line of carrots. They're not bolting, so let's have a little, oh, I wonder if that's a Chantenay, because that looks quite big. Either that is a little hidden monster. Oh, I'm really tempted to pull it. Shall we pull it? Yeah, go on, let's do it. Just the first one, just to see. Oh yeah, that's shallow. Maybe these are Chantenay. Oh no! One of the few times, myself in the face. One of the few times I've been really excited for a carrot harvest because they actually got germination. They actually look quite healthy, and this is what you get. That's why I just, carrots. What a load of bother. It's still good eating at the end of the day, isn't it? And I'm really surprised by this kind of salad mix that I've planted. This is taken quite well, looking really, really good. And the cucumbers are just about hanging on in there that I planted a few days ago. I think I might start training these up here soon. This one, I don't know, this one looks like it might be about to go to flower actually, and there's one behind it that's just flowering, so they might be a bit stressed. It's just been really funny weather as well, and let's look for spider mite on here. Spider mites much prefer indoor conditions, but we'll see. The one at the back is doing the best. Yeah, a few flowers on there. We'll see. Once again, a bit of a wing and a prayer. We'll just see what happens. Some more lettuce. There's been lettuce everywhere. We've had a fridge stocked full of lettuce for about a month now. Some of the ones in here that were self-sown, unfortunately, bolting very early. That one's just bolting too. So, it's a bit of a shame. The brassicas, well, I don't really know how I feel about the brassicas. It was all a bit of the brassicas kind of went out. My parents put these out because these had to go out at like the worst time for hay fever. So it's when I was really unable to be outside, really difficult time. Nothing is really where it should be. Some of this kale, red curly kale, I'm going to take some of that today for a little harvest for some roasts. And yeah, I don't know, I'm a little bit worried the netting. But this is kind of, you know, one of those proper big jobs on the third to-do list of like when I've got a lot of time. And hopefully I can get some scaffolding in from my dad's plot. If you didn't see that one, I'll put a link on the screen now to my dad's allotment progress, and they've got loads of scaffolding poles. And yeah, it's a bit of a mix. What is in here? So we've got the red curly kale, we've got, I think this is purple sprouting broccoli, but I don't really know. None of the labels came with it. And then I think this is the sprouts. And then I had a few gaps where I was going to put some of the savoys, and I was expecting by now to be harvesting the summer cabbage, and nothing's really come out, so there's not many gaps. These ones along the left-hand side of the bed, rubbish. I think there's a bit of a poor patch of soil there. Some of the red cabbage looking good, but not hearting up, you know, so it's sort of, I'm just gonna wait and see. There's 3 in here that look bloody amazing. Really, really good growth, but a little bit slow. So I'm just, you know, it's not been amazing, but yeah, I don't know. I was thinking maybe I'll just take these out and put some of the winter cabbages along here because they're not growing, but the fact that they're not growing suggests it's a problem. But it might just be they were too close spaced, I don't know. We did get a fox in here that dug a big hole in the middle there and dug out a couple of cabbages over here, so maybe it's just that, I don't know. But oh God, look at that one. That one is bloody gigantic, and I'm a bit concerned that there are 4 purple sprouting broccoli plants planted right next to each other there. Well, really, there should just be 1. So, I don't know. I'm just going to kind of bide my time with this a little bit and see how it develops and go in and get some remedial action done when it needs doing. But it is looking quite nice and weed-free, and with a nice manure mulch. I think it's relatively rich. I've also been giving this a nettle feed and a seaweed feed. I think that's helped, especially these ones. Oh, look, just over here. My wild patch over here, which is particularly enjoyed by reptiles, lots of wood down the base. Quite often as I walk past here, I can hear the lizards scurrying around, but we've had a couple of thistles pop up. Really good for the goldfinches, and the bees like it too. Just wonderful, wonderful. Over here, the peas just about ready. I probably could have got in a second sowing of peas if I'd maybe thought about this a bit more. I was a little bit disappointed with the peas this year, but I think that was just the weather, really. So we had some peas to snack on, that's the main thing. A really quick look at the second plot. Looking, I don't know, well, to me it looks amazing because I've just spent so much time clearing this bed. I don't know about the strawberries, you know, it needs a lot of work. But the corn has been freed from the shade of the cherry. There's a lot more space over here now. I think I might take a few of these spuds today, just as a bit of an early harvest. And yeah, we'll see. Oh dear. This is one of the problems with using the cardboard. That one's probably the only squash that's really struggled to establish. Lots of other ones looking good. The onions, I mean, they're so late, but I'm just pleased to have any onions growing. That squash looking spectacular. The rhubarb's still going quite strong, actually. Ooh, look at these. These cucumbers with the rain. Oh, they've like doubled in size. Oh, that's fantastic. That is really great to see. Oh, that's put a big smile on my face, that has. And these are looking a bit neater and tidier now that they've had a strim and a weed. Of course, I spoke too soon, didn't I, about the thing stopping digging, and we've got a big hole there. Oh, this is close. I could probably take this today, you know. My first little butter stick courgette. It could do with, well, maybe, you know, I should take that, shouldn't I? I'm definitely going to take that as a little early first harvest when it's still super sweet and nice. The squash all getting on quite well, looking quite good. Plum trees still not quite ripe, but they are fattening up. And plums make a great accompaniment to hot sauce. You can make some good plum hot sauces, so I'm sure that will be coming in future. One of the things on the soon to-do list is I want to re-sow this with flowers. If you've got any recommendations for quick cropping flowers that we could get before September, that's a pretty tall order because it's only about, I don't know, 8 to 10 weeks. But if you've got anything, please do let me know. I've got a packet of seeds in the greenhouse ready to go today. So we're going to try and resurrect the flower beds for cut flowers. The other day I took home just a small selection of cut flowers for Jess, and she loved it, and it was like one of the nicest feelings. Of course, that's what Steve always used to do for Anne. And so it was it doesn't compare to one of Steve's full bouquets, but it was nice to have just a little vase of happy Parsnips looking good, looking okay, looking great. I've seen some people have got parsnips that are, you know, knee, chest high now, just completely full up, but I am happy with that. And look, just next door, on this crazy overgrown plot, there's an old grape that was planted next to their greenhouse. That's just loaded, and they're probably going to be not that great because I know grapes need a lot of pruning. You need to manually remove a lot of fruit to make the fruit that's there super nice. But I'm just really pleased with how the second plot is looking now. I know it's a work in progress. I had a lot of comments as well, all agreeing that it takes years to get an allotment shipshape, you know, and I've only had this one for less than a whole season, so quite proud. And I have seen, yeah, a lot of other people around here, the plots around here, even some of the star plots that you walk past and go, oh, look at them. They've had some disappointing potato results. So it could all be a lot worse. Let's go and have a really quick look at the third plot, because to be honest, I've not been to the third plot in ages. A quick word on the apple harvest, actually, just as I'm on my way to the third plot. It's a bad year for codling moth. The apples on here, pretty good number, but I've just you know, it's been a tough year. I've been quite busy generally this year, so I've not been attentive, and I'm just taking off loads of apples. This is a small selection just from this kind of side, and I was just chucking them in here because this was on the floor. What I'm looking for is any apple like this that has a load of kind of frassy stuff on the outside. That is a mixture of the apple pulp and probably the poo of the maggot inside. So if I was to open this up, I'm fairly sure there would be a little maggot in there. And they're, you know, you still can get an apple harvest, but you don't want to be biting into an apple with a maggot in. It's a problem that has always been on this apple tree. There's another one here. I just know that's a little codling moth larvae in there. So it's good to try and take them off as early as possible, because A, it means there's a cleaner harvest, and B, it means that apple can focus on putting the energy into the good apples. And actually, I'm just noticing now, not a good sign is that we've got a lot of these tiny little apples. You know, look at this. That is not really, that's not full size, anywhere close to full size, that are ripening. And normally you would expect the tree to drop these, like I just did, and not be putting all the energy into ripening these. So that is not a great sign. I think we might have some small apples this year, and it's always a challenge when you inherit a tree, trying to know the best way to prune and shape it. Just the other side of the apple tree has been quite a good year for this berry bush, mystery berry. What are they? Loganberries, tayberries, boysenberries. There's loads of other suggestions I've had. They are very sweet. I would liken it most to an apple, like a really ripe apple kind of flavour. So if you want to add your guesses about what this might be, do so in the comments below, please. There's never great masses of fruit on here, but compared to last year where I had literally none, this is quite a good one. Oh, there's another one down there. This is like a comparatively good year. Most days I'm here and get a little handful like this just to snack on, but you do need to make sure it's bug-free. Finally, actually on the way to the third plot, and the main thing I want to see over here is whether or not there's anything ready to harvest yet, because I said kind of early on, oh God, that's not good. I was complaining about the water pressure, and yeah, a bit of a whoops. This one is a bit awkward, actually. I tend to prefer to use this one. So less likely to get completely and utterly annihilated by, yeah, I can't do that one-handed. Much less likely to get completely stung by nettles. This one seems a bit funny today as well. No, that one's on there, okay. Because yes, you can see there's just a massive pile of nettles here. One of the things I really love about allotments is the different ways that people have of doing things. I'm really good friends with this guy, I chat to him most days, and he likes the just full cultivation. You know, he keeps everything turned over, very kind of neat and tidy, and he's very low input. He doesn't like to buy any manure or soil from elsewhere. The only manure or inputs he really uses are in his greenhouse, which does look amazing, I must say, and mostly spider mite free as well, which is really good. But I mean, look at some of the results he gets. He doesn't put any, he just uses homemade compost, you know. He's not no dig or anything, but look at these courgettes, just massive. And what I was saying about potatoes, you know, this is kind of what I would class this as one of the star plots. He's here every day, and yeah, his spud's looking a bit sad today too. Oh, But let's see what's going on. Oh my God. Okay, the squashes are growing, folks. The squashes are growing. What is this? Where are you going? Where are you going? Oh, it's been a really long time since I've been on here. The potatoes are flowering. What is going on over here? Oh my God, I wasn't expecting this. Look at this. That's like dry. We've had so much rain. Maybe I'll give that a really good soaking. Oh, that's really gone crazy. Everything's gone a bit crazy. That one, that's meant to be growing that way. What are you doing? Oh God, something's really, I showed this being dug out. I think something's had another go. So I might, okay, I do just need to spend a little while like kind of retraining these and maybe putting a bit of compost around some of their bases because they're looking a bit exposed. Over here, oh, exciting, exciting. Look at this. This is the pick and pick. Some call it a courgette, some call it a squash. I think that might be ready for picking. I'm gonna double check. That one's quite small. Oh, and the summer sunburst. We've got our first little one and I'm really pleased with that. I tell you what, a lot of these squash plants went in, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks late, to be honest, for the growing conditions this year. I've seen some squash patches, not particularly here, but on YouTube and on Instagram, that would just be, you know, this whole thing would just be the squash jungle, which was kind of the plan. And, you know, it's really difficult not to compare yourself to that kind of thing, but the main thing is the squashes are mostly healthy. That middle one looks a bit wilted, but you know, they're growing, they're doing the right thing. And sometimes comparing yourself with other people is a really bad idea. You know, I just need to be happy because this plot, without me doing anything, if you don't know, this is my auntie and uncle's plot. I'll link in the description to when I first started doing just a little bit of work on here because they're really busy. You know, without me doing anything, the whole thing would look like that little corner, which I never really got around to doing apart from a quick mow. So it'll actually look a lot worse than that. What it would look like is all of that grass just there on a plot a few over. And I just said that I hadn't seen any crazy squash patches, but just a few plots over from the potatoes, just spotted. Look at that, that is a proper squash patch. And it just goes to show as well, you know, what difference a few weeks can make. With a lot of these things, they have an almost exponential growth, and all I can do is blame hay fever. So I was ill, there was nothing I could do, so I did what I could, and I'm pretty proud of that. You know, we've got food on here. At some point, hopefully anyway, we'll have food. I don't know what to expect from those potatoes. They do look a bit weird, very strange growth form, super kind of leggy, they haven't bushed out, but hopefully there's food under that soil. And just around, another quick slapdash thing where I just stuck some things in the soil. We've got some beans, some climbing beans, and they're just looking like they're starting to flower. Hooray, another win. That is another win. This Christmas Lima, I'm a little bit, I don't think it's meant to be that colour, that really kind of pale yellow. I'm not sure what's going on here, but it's got to the point where it just wants to be so big. So let's just wrap you around. Anti-clockwise, apparently, for these, I think, is the rule. And then over here, the Borlottis just starting to flower. They're going to have a bit of a tough time of it, I think, with the weather, but they're hanging on. We've had some really inclement weather, so hopefully they're going to carry on podding. Well, they're going to start to pod and also continue to grow up these canes a little bit because they are quite short. So just giving this a quick water in, and what I've done as well around a few of these is just a little bit of manure, just because I think the manure is quite rich from this compost centre. Things don't like to grow straight in it, so at least let's get a little bit of a kind of liquid feed, if you like, as the water's going in. This was absolutely mullered by the slugs before, so I'm really pleased to see that this is actually bounced back, although it's still tiny. No idea what it is. Oh, it does have a label. Butterbush. Most of these don't have labels, to be honest. So that, although tiny, is kind of a win. The foxes has just come to see us. I always get so many people saying in the comments like, oh, there's a fox behind you. Foxes on here. They're so bold. I see them every time I arrive, they're hanging out. And although they do like to dig in my beds, I do quite like to see them. So I've just given everything a good water. I'm going to leave this on the spuds for a little bit longer. These are King Edwards, so they're a main crop. They've got a long time for growing. A few of them are starting to flower. I'm just hoping that'll give them a little bit more chance to properly fatten up. The ones on the left definitely look the healthiest. The ones on the right look the worst, and the ones in the middle, there's definitely a kind of correlation through there, you know, the worst, middle, best. One of the things about allotments and tours like this and looking at your progress it's so easy to compare. You know, I was just talking about the third plot and comparing myself with the people around me, and I think it's just so important. The kind of metric of success that you look at shouldn't, in my opinion, be harvests or, you know, how pretty your allotment is. It's whether or not you've had a good time. And it sounds so cliche, I know it does, but 90% of this year I've been having a great time. There's been a few times where I've had to, you know, aside from the hay fever obviously, which was miserable, but there's been a few times where I've just had to get my head down, slog away. It's not been particularly fun, but like I say, 90% of the time I love being up here. I love getting out. I wake up most mornings, I honestly cannot wait to pick up the camera and just get out here. And that's what it's felt like today. So sure, it could have been better, and I'm thinking about ways to improve it next year, but the harvests have been good. You know, they're a little bit late, but they're good. Our fridge is stocked, we're struggling to use it all. It's good problems to have, you know. The spider mites could have really got me down. It's a bit crap, it is a bit crap, but I'm hoping I've caught it in time, and all I've got to do now is water my peppers and enjoy those. So thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you enjoy the kind of the reality of this allotment. You know, they're so far from perfect, but I'm pretty much always enjoying it. So I hope you feel the same way. An extra special thank you to my Chili Pepper tier patrons, Tony, Bill, Pam, Louise, Mel, Michael, Denise, Socks in the Garden, and Craig. I didn't count that, so I hope that's right. Hopefully I'll see you again in the next one.